virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall name him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. When Joseph awoke, he did as the angel of the Lord had commanded him and took his wife into his home. He had no relations with her until she bore a son, and he named him Jesus. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Well, I was expecting more children here today, but that's all right. We're all children for this Mass today. And really, Christmas, I think, often brings out the child in us. We have so many memories, all of us, that go way back to our earliest years. And for example, the little girl who brought up the baby Jesus, I have a feeling she'll never forget this. I just have a feeling she'll see it. Maybe she'll get married here many years from now and have her children here, and maybe they will bring up the child Jesus, and she'll remember that for the rest of her life. In fact, I had a memory this week, and I'd never shared this at a Christmas Mass, but I couldn't help it because at my age, I wake up sometimes and I get a melody in my mind and I can't get it out of my head. It just sticks in there and it keeps repeating. So this is the one that repeated this week. I don't know if any of you will remember this, but it was a little boy missing his 2 front teeth, and he sings this song. It was one of my favorites as a little kid. All I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth, my 2 front teeth, my 2 front teeth. All I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth, so I can wish you Merry Christmas. I got a big kick out of it. I had my 2 front teeth at the time, so it didn't bother me, but it just delighted me. Not only have we all got memories, but this parish has a memory. This is the 100th year of the existence of this parish community. And even though Mass was celebrated in 3 places over the years, the first place I think over in San Fernando somewhere, and then the church that was built there now is our hall, and then the church here. And so we have 100 years of literally thousands of people having entered the doors of our church at St. Bernard to celebrate Christmas. After about 40 years, 45 years, we had a council that allowed us to have this Mass. Because until after the council, 64, 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there, right around when this church was built, we only could have Mass at the midnight Mass and then the Masses on Christmas Day. And they had to be all done by 12:30 or 1 on Christmas Day. That was a very tight little time for us. But after the council, we opened this up to an early Mass like this, which I think is perfect for families now, because I'm looking at a few little ones here, and they are a bit excited, I think, just a bit excited. And they will probably be up late, and then they'll be dead until noon tomorrow because it'll be just too much after they've braved and gotten through all of the Christmas festivities. But the real truth that we are here, it's not about Christmas and my 2 front teeth, it's about that. And that scene is for us so precious. But for me, it goes way beyond it. It's a fulfillment of all these scriptures. In the first reading, y voy a decir alguna en español después, okay? But in the first reading, we're hearing these prophetic utterances from Isaiah about what's coming. But Israel had gone through a lot. We even go back in the second reading, thinking back to when the Jewish people were slaves in Egypt and wandered for 40 years. So they had a history of pain and struggle and suffering. But listen to what God speaks to them in this first reading. It's quite extraordinary to even hear these words. No more shall people call you forsaken, or your land desolate, but you shall be called my delight, and your land espoused. Your land will be my wife, God is speaking. This is how precious was the calling of God for the future promise to be fulfilled. And it's all fulfilled right here. And we hear a little bit more of it and even go through a rapid history from going back to Moses and the wandering in the desert up until John the Baptist, who foretold, and we listened all through this Advent, the Lord is coming, the Lord is coming, and to ready ourselves for the coming of the Lord. But it is, I didn't read the whole gospel. The option was the shorter version because you would have had to listen to about 40 names or 44 names, I think it is. And it's a tongue twister anyway, but it doesn't mean much, but we get right to the heart of it in this gospel. This is how the birth of Jesus Christ came about. And we're all so familiar with it. Nothing in it is new. But I think this Advent has been one of the most productive ones for me because for whatever reason, I really, in the last year and a half, but this Advent more than ever, have connected the deepest theological meaning of this event. I think we all say that Jesus Christ is truly the Son of God. And I think we admit and accept a mystery that is bigger than able to be conceived. I think that God, it even says in the scriptures, God in his godliness put aside his godliness and took on humanity and was born into this world with our human flesh. And even accepted death on a cross. He entered fully into our humanity. But I am convinced that the reason for this and the meaning for this is that, first of all, that we can relate to a human, God in a human form in Jesus. That's probably everybody's easiest way of relating to God. But for me, the deepest meaning is that, and it goes back to the story of Adam and Eve, which is a story, but the story relates that through disobedience, somehow we damaged our humanity forever. Sin entered, darkness entered. And all you have to do, I was going to do it and I didn't do it today, but look at the paper, go through the local section and go through the national section, international section, and look at the death and the darkness, the killing in the darkness. In fact, I see that the president just allowed out of 40 federal cases of death penalty, he commuted 37. These people will not be freed, but they will be in jail for the rest of their lives. But they took away the idea that because you killed, we can kill you. And I think that's darkness. The popes have been saying it for years. How can we think in terms of death penalties? And some may not be in agreement, that's okay. But I'm saying, and 3 that won't be commuted for reasons they were mass killings. But that's a lot of darkness. And I think I heard there were over 2,000 cases in the states combined. A lot of darkness. And we need light. We need light. And this story is a story of light. And so we welcome in the Christ. And then with his being born, he's called Prince of Peace, Christ the light of the world. Where does he end up? In the darkness of the cross. And yet, at that moment, the darkest moment, I think, of his 3 years of ministry, the most vulnerable moment of all his 3 years in ministry, and the year and the moment that he was most rejected happened there on that cross. And as people spit on him and put him there to die and rejected him and laughed at him and hated him, he could have done the same, and he didn't. And so I think it is at that moment, I like to say, in that 1 minute that he hung on the cross dying, but said these words, he redeemed our humanity, his divinity, his divine ability, like God himself, as he was. He could say, Father, forgive them all. They know not what they do. And that restored us to the possibility of loving, as the scriptures love to say, even those who hate us. That's extraordinary. That's extraordinary. And I think that's the great gift of Jesus. So we celebrate the divine moment that this is his coming into the world, that we lead up to the greatest and most divine moment of his life, and welcome Christ the light and the Prince of Peace into our lives. No quiero repetir toda la cosa, pero quiero decir, estamos aquí a celebrar esta venida de Dios en nuestro mundo como un humano, como una persona humana que estaba dando a nuestra humanidad su divinidad. Y yo creo que pasó no solamente porque Dios aceptó humanidad y estaba nacido como un bebé, pero que en la cruz Él tenía la habilidad de amar en la cara de odio y enemigos matándolo. Él tenía la habilidad a decir esas palabras: Padre, perdónalos, que no saben qué está haciendo. Y Él pudiera, en la cara de odio y rechaza, Él pudiera amar y perdonar. Y es divino, es simplemente divino. Y esa es la cosa que celebramos en la persona de Cristo. Y estamos aquí a celebrar que nuestras vidas y nuestra mortalidad está renovado con la divinidad del amor de Cristo en nuestras vidas. En